Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. If you want transparency and authenticity, you're in the right place. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and this is Sean Dustin.
It helps when I add myself to the stream. What's up? This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Dustin. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. It's good to have you with us. Today is a pretty special day for the show, episode 100. I never thought that I would get this far, to be honest with you. There were some shaky moments in this show's history where, I dropped it for a month or two and picked it back up. I think I did that twice. I don't suggest that. I lost a lot of listeners on the first time around when I did that. It was starting to grow pretty quickly, and then once I fell off, so did my listenership. So don't do that. If anything I can tell you is don't do that. Just keep going. Even if you just put updates up in short clips, keep your listenership going. Like always, if you're getting something out of what I'm doing here, do me a favor and subscribe, rate, or review. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and thumbs the video up. That would definitely help me out. If you are on Facebook, like and share across whatever you want to do. Also, if you're on the podcast platforms like Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, all the major platforms, and even some of the ones that aren't major, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because that will help my listenership grow and make me be more available and accessible on the platforms themselves. And in anything else that you want to know about me in this episode and my guests today that are going to be joining me will be in the description. All the places to connect to the show, my link tree, and everybody else's links that are going to be here, except for Brandy, because I didn't get a chance. She was a late addition last evening. So Brandy, if you're listening right now in the green room, do me a favor, and any links that you want to promote, go ahead and throw that in a private chat, and I will upload those and flash them up during the broadcast. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to bring in Maria Daniels, who is the host of Successfully Chaotic, the podcast, and a host of other different things. She's kind of amazing with all of the different stuff that she's involved doing with and does. She helps me out quite a bit with a lot of things. We've become pretty close in the last year, working together on IPU, which is Indie Pods United. And then we're going to have Tina Marie Trimpert, who is the host of Psyche-Delic Podcast. And then Brandy, which I think she has a podcast as well. Let me look over in the whatchamacallit. I don't see that. Yeah, she has a podcast too, and I'll let her go ahead and tell everybody what she's up to. But Maria's going to be running a little bit late, so I'm going to bring, or not Maria, Tina's running a little bit late, so I'm going to bring Maria in and Brandy right now. Hey.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing today?
I'm good. Drinking my coffee.
Me too.
All right. So the reason why I wanted to do this kind of this way is that there was some episodes that in my catalog that I don't really like, and so I wanted to be able to do a little bit of an explanation on some of those, plus also go through some of the ones that I did like, and get a little bit of perspective from other people out there that have listened to it, because mine's not like, I see things one way and somebody else may see something a different way. In the last 2 years since I started this show, I mean, I've changed a lot, and I think anybody can agree with me who has a podcast or does a podcast that when you're, especially an interview one, because you're getting a lot of contact with a lot of different people, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of people that may not agree with your perspective. And it's taught me really how to be able to listen and not and accept somebody else's perspective, and learn to be okay with that and not have to argue it out, like shove oh no, you don't agree with this is what I'm saying, and it's okay to not agree with people's perspectives. I mean, that's what makes being individual such an amazing thing, because we are all different and we all see things differently. I mean, we could all read the same passage and get something completely different out of it, or see it in a different way. So that's kind of why. And then also to update everybody on what's going on, where the show's going, what's coming, and also to give you guys a peek into the huge backlog of episodes that I have to get out, and just kind of like what's coming down the road. The show is taking on some different roles. I started a nonprofit, and this show is going to be attached to that, and there's a whole big thing around that. And so I'll give a little bit of an explanation of that in later. So let me share screen, and we'll run through these. You guys got anything to say? Well, first of all, why don't you introduce yourselves, Maria, while I'm doing this.
All right. Well, I'm Maria Daniels, for you all that don't know me, and I am the host of Successfully Chaotic. And I just want to say, Sean, congratulations for hitting your 100th episode. That's amazing. And I think you have a great podcast. And actually it wasn't. What? I can hear myself.
Yeah, you can hear yourself. You can hear yourself.
I don't love it.
Oh, well, let me take that out. Sorry. Oops.
Is that better? Ooh, that's better. Yeah. Made my eardrums burst. But anyway, I didn't actually listen to your early episodes until I knew I was coming on the show. So I started listening to some of those. And like most podcasters, I think you have done nothing but improve, as you've gone on. Because I started listening later, more recently to your more recent episodes, and then went back to your beginning ones. And I definitely think that you've improved. But I didn't think your beginning episodes were terrible either. I feel like mine were terrible at the beginning. Like I listen back to some of mine, I'm like, oh, child, what are you doing? Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate that. I need to figure out I'll take the sound off of that, because I want to be able to scroll through some of these as we're talking about them. And Tina Marie is here. Let's bring her on into the mix.
Hi, you almost caught me slipping right up in the camera.
Sorry about that. I should have given you a little bit of warning before I dropped you in.
That's okay. Happy 100th episode.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Brandy, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know who you are and where we can find you.
First of all, good morning, everyone. Hello, Tina. Happy 100th anniversary. I call it. I didn't know now. My name is Brandy J, and I am the host of quite a few things. Voices of Courage, originally a voice to be reckoned with, and I have Can't Get Enough podcast that has a whole nother website with different shows on it, which you can find on Spreaker, Google Cast, YouTube, Pandora, basically just all the major platforms. You Google me, you'll tell me places that I didn't even know I was. And also I am one of the hosts, not the host. Well, I'm a part of Real Wise Radio. And yes. I think I got it all.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me on short notice. Brandy had answered one of my posts that I made, and I had, when I'll answer an email, I'll be in the middle of working on something, and then an email will come up, and I'll start doing that, and then I'll just completely space what I was doing to begin with. And so I forgot to message her back, but I did last night, or the night before, one of the two. I think it was last night.
What day is it?
They all run together. And so she was nice enough to wake up at 7 a.m. this morning because she's in Southern California. So we are both early birds versus Maria, where it's 10 a.m. where you are and 9 a.m. where you are, right, Tina?
Yes. Not a fan.
Yeah, I know. So Tina, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know who you are and what your show is.
Okay, I'm Tina Marie, and I'm the host of the Psyche-Delic Podcast with a hyphen. And I always let everybody know about that hyphen because it means so much, because we talk about psychology, we talk about cool stuff like lucid dreaming and MK Ultra, and we're kind of all over the place, but we call ourselves your favorite panel of non-experts. So come and check us out. And yeah, I know all of you people, you amazing people, you two beautiful ladies, and Sean. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's funny. My girlfriend goes, "Oh, you've got all lady panelists, huh?" He's all, "Good luck with that." So you didn't want to have any guys telling you about yourself?
Episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3. Oh, that's one that I do not like. So let me screen share here. We'll get started. Again, thank you. I appreciate it. And Maria and Tina, I've come to know you very well in the last year through working on IPU, and just, all the different times that we talk and joke throughout our different whatever those things are called, threads that we have in Messenger and whatnot. And
man.
Hopefully those never get subpoenaed or anything.
Look, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get a subpoena.
No. It's like some of the conversations we have in there, I'm like, no normal people have those conversations. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah. But I mean, it's great. It honestly, in the last year, I mean, everybody has probably been struggling in some way or another, with what's been going on and the isolation and all of the other stuff that goes along with that. And this has really been a cool thing to have, because it's kind of eliminated a lot of that, being stuck in the house and the quarantine, whatever. It really gave me an opportunity to bond with people, which I would normally do, maybe somewhere at work or whatever. So, I mean, it's been really cool. It's really helped me out a lot. And I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you've been going for a while now, Sean. I mean, you have so many, 100 episodes is such a big deal. I'm really proud of you. It's awesome how far you've come.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm going to share screen now. Hopefully I'm not going to share audio. That was a problem last time. So if it doesn't blow everybody's eardrums out. All right, so we're going to start with the first one, and we're going to go in 10 episode chunks. So, I mean, I'm not going to hit every single episode and talk about it. So the first one, and I'm going to explain the butt up now. When I started my Twitter account, I didn't understand Twitter. So when I did all of this, I just kind of like went and hit every single, I needed Instagram, I needed this, and I needed that. And I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. Right. And so what do they all say, Maria, in business? Failing to plan is planning to fail. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's kind of my first inkling of that. And so when I started my Twitter account, they gave me a handle as butt up now.
Now.
I'm like, what? What is that? And then
so perverted.
Yeah. Right. and then the exclamation point was an accident. It was supposed to be episode 1. And I so when you're doing this and you first start, man, do yourself a favor and proofread everything. Don't just copy and paste stuff. Don't just, there's so many different things that I've done that have like, and once you push publish, it's like you can't get it back. I mean, I guess you can delete it, but on Libsyn, I mean, I just like, screw it, whatever. That's just, I mean, that's life. I mean, life is messy, right?
Absolutely.
Chaotic.
Yeah, successfully chaotic. A shameless drop there for you. And then number 2 is divorce struggles conversation. This is somebody that was local, and I threw I had no idea how to get guests yet, so I just posted something in the local Facebook
Craigslist
group.
was you on Craigslist?
Oh my gosh, the newspaper.
It was a local Facebook group. And so somebody answered. I'm like, oh my God, yes.
Wow. I bet you were so proud because at the beginning, okay, I just have to say this. Episode 1 sounds like a very long trailer for something I don't fully understand yet. And I was just laughing so hard because you're just like telling your email and spelling it out all slow. And like you're so different now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's called personality. When we first start these journeys, it's hard for you because you're uncomfortable, and so when you're uncomfortable, your true personality never really comes through. Like you'll see glimpses of it, almost like someone that's dating an addict, you know what I mean, and wanting them to change and sticking around because they see glimpses of that person and they're like, oh my God, he's still there. I don't know, sorry, I didn't mean to go off track on that. But yeah, I mean, it's just, the glimpses of your personality will start coming out. And, I think my true personality didn't start showing, I think, until probably in the 60s. That's how.
In the 1960s?
No. In episode 60s. So these are this is one of the ones right here, episode 3, single dad online dating perspective.
Just the title.
Yeah.
When I started this show, right, in the first episode, it talks about maybe, a dating podcast and this and that. And so after I did this episode, and it was also kind of, I think I wrote the whole episode out just to see if like how long it would take me and how many pages, just sort of like a test run, like if I was going to do that.
Aww.
And so I wrote the whole thing out. You can hear me flipping pages and all of that. But the reason I didn't like this episode is because when I listened back to it, I sounded like such a douche. Like
you
just
did.
in
Tina's like, yeah, fact. That was a fact.
No, seriously, it was like, oh my God, like who would want to date you?
Yeah.
After listening to that episode.
Was that the episode you were saying you had 12 dating apps? Because I was like, shit.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, how do you keep up with that?
You can't. It's very difficult. But I mean, just some of the things that I was saying in it, and from trying to, and a lot of it is that was around the time when I had just split up with my ex. So I mean, I still was angry, and then I was going on dates with people, and that's when I started realizing that I got a echo from somewhere.
Yeah, somebody's playing it on Facebook, I think.
Yeah. So anyways, it was I'd gone on some dates, and it'd probably been like the third one that I'd went on where it really wasn't. It was a person from 15 years ago that I clicked on, and this was not the person in the picture. You know what I mean? It just, and I get it, man. People do that. You put your very best picture to try to lure people in, and but I just like at some point, if you're gonna meet with somebody, we're gonna see who you really are. And so I was just pissed. I shouldn't have done an episode actually in that state of mind. and it really came through in that episode. And so, like, I'm not that person. If anybody, you know what I mean? I was at that point, but that was probably about almost 2 years ago, you know.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I really appreciate that episode at the same time of it being hilarious to me, because that was your genuine moment, like in the very beginning of podcasting, and it's been up this whole time. You made it to episode 100 and you never took it down. I mean, it's still there. That was a part of you, and it's something that you were going through, and you'll always remember that. So I think that's actually really cool that you kept it up. And you know, it's just hilarious. You were going to talk about dating throughout all of your podcast.
Well, after listening to that episode, I realized that I was no expert in any, and shouldn't be talking about dating at all. Actually, probably shouldn't even be dating at that point.
That was so obnoxious. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the explanation on that one. All right, then we go through Rhiannon. I've had her on 2 times. She's in the I think 70s or 80s, her second one, but that was a really good one about mental illness, because she struggles with a couple of different diagnoses. 5 is Melissa Sheldon. She was a voice actress. That was a good one. Didn't get a lot of play, but if anybody out there wants to know about voice acting, she actually gives the way that she got into it, which is not the traditional way. She went through the apps and started going on Amazon and doing reading for books and everything else, like voice narration and all this other stuff. So she gave me those apps to do, right? And I went and I tried it out myself, and I actually got on a few different things. They weren't paid, but I mean, they were actually spots, and they're out there somewhere in the world. So her thing does work. So if anybody's interested in that, go into episode number 5, and actually you don't even have to listen to the episode. Just go into the show notes, and all of the links and everything will be in there.
No, go listen to the episode. What was that, Sean? Come on now. Episode 100, you should be like, I am the boss.
Yeah, no, that's what I've realized so far being in 100 is that I am no boss. I am constantly learning and about things and myself too. You know, it's
That's everybody though.
Yeah. But you know, not everybody does that. Not everybody learns about themselves.
Well,
because
that's true. Everybody should.
You have to
That
be
is true.
open. You have to be open to hearing about yourself and being able to take that constructive criticism and not constructive sometimes. You know, and I mean, what are you gonna do if somebody just starts calling you, you're fuck, blah, 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 you're a piece of junk, whatever, and not reacting and responding instead.
All the more reason to edit it out later.
True, but the show is based on authenticity and transparency, so I don't do a whole lot of removal. I think I removed once, and I let you hear that one that I removed, and it should have been removed.
It should have been removed. That's a hilarious one. I wish we could talk about it, but we're not gonna.
We got a comment from a friend of mine, David Deroser, who he's a executive director of the Other Side Academy in Utah. And he's actually in episode 83. And part of the reason why I started the nonprofit and the direction I'm going to go with it is because I went and visited the Other Side Academy and stayed at the facility for 3 days with the students, and I immersed myself in their program and listened to all the things, went to the different like groups that they had, the confrontation groups. He really extended me such an awesome invitation and brought me into what he was doing and let me see exactly like how his business model runs and all of that. So thank you, David. You have no idea how much of an influence you've been on me. So I appreciate you. All right, let's go back to, all right, here's another one. So we had number 6, the comeback coach. He's really cool. Episode 7, this is another one that I didn't like. And the reason why I didn't like it is because I feel like when I listened back to it, I was glorifying my drug use in a way. and like, and that really wasn't what it was meant to be. It was more like telling a crazy story about how crazy it gets when you're in addiction. Like, you don't think about certain things, and so like, oh yeah, I did this and I did that, and I think it also had a story of when I OD'd, and like the people that I was with just kind of left me they put me in another room and continued partying, and somehow I ended up waking up, and I didn't even think about that as being like something fucked up. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It was like, oh, where's some more stuff? And I immediately started getting high again. And so that was more of an explanation of how crazy it can get. But then when I listened back, it sounded more like I was having fun talking about it. And then the girl that I had, this was an in-person interview. And so she had joined me at my place to do this one. And we talked about a place called Discovery Bay. And it made it sound like this place, which is a city like a couple cities away. It's a well-to-do area. They all live on the water. Well, not all of them live on the water, but most of these people live on nice houses on the water. It's an expensive area. And you know, some things happen there sometimes. I mean, you know, there's well we talk about you know, orgies and stuff, and you know, swinger parties that happen in this affluent area. But it really made it seem like that, like the whole town was like this, and this is all what they do, and
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it really painted Discovery Bay in a bad light.
Oh no.
And so, if anybody listens to that, that is not what I intended for that to be. Yes, in every city there are swingers, I imagine, and I'm sure, and you know, maybe there may be more there. I don't know. I've never been.
Well, Sean, you know, because you've been to strip clubs. You say it on episode 1 or 2. You're like, I hanged out with strippers, and I was like, wow, he came like straight out with it. You go, Sean.
That's true, and in that area, in that period in my life, yes, I had been. You know, I knew where that stuff was going on, but like, I don't. Now I have no idea if that's what happens in Discovery Bay or not. I mean, those are just rumors that I've heard. And Stephanie kind of says, yes, maybe she's been to one of them. So, I mean, it whatever. Discovery Bay is not a bad place. It is actually a very nice place.
It's where you can discover yourself.
Yeah. And several other selves.
Yes.
And so then here's where I get into some more of the addiction stuff, which is actually my lane, because I struggled with addiction for 18 years in and out of prisons and institutions and stuff like that. This was an interesting one, 9, freedom of the press, because July 4th, 2019, and then we're dealing with that right now in 2020. So I think that one was a little ahead of its time, because we're dealing with the freedom of the press right now, and freedom of speech, and all these other things that are happening in our society right now, which we will not go into, because that is not why we're here.
Rabbit hole.
Life coach Amy Barsky, that was a great one. She is super. She has a lot of wisdom, and she's oh man, what is she? She does like acro yoga.
I love that. I want to do it so bad.
Oh yeah, dude, check her out, because she is like, not only does she have this flexible ass body and does a lot of crazy shit, she's just a cool person, man. And I'm probably going to ask her to come on board because part of this nonprofit that I'm starting is going to be putting together a panel of coaches and mental health counselors and stuff like that are going to be, that I want to be able to present and be on board with, what I'm going to be, the population I'm going to be serving, I figured it out and narrowed it down, is transitional youth males, so 15 to 23. And the reason why is that in our area, the youth authority, and if you're in California, Brandy, you know this, CYA is going to be closing down, and they're not going to be they're doing away with that program, the Youth Authority, altogether. So in
Oh my
2020,
gosh.
well, in 2023, it's going to be they're shutting the doors. They're not putting anybody else in there at this point. So there's going to be a whole bunch of funding that'll be available for counties and cities now. But what are they going to be doing with these juveniles that, juvenile males, instead of going there? We're going to have to figure out some sort of situation or some sort of programs to as diversion for that. So.
Sean, you're like the person to be the face of all of that for this. And I think that it's excellent that you're actually going forward with it. And I'm like, once again, so proud of you. But one thing I have to say, I forgot on episode 2 or 3, you have like some crazy techno music, and I want to know why.
Okay, so on all, I think all the way up until 7 or 8 or 9, I was just figuring out how to do all this stuff. I'd never done any of this stuff, so
It was cute.
I was like, all right. So I played around with different music, and then I think around 7 or 8 or 9, I'm like, all right, well, I'd settled on something that I was happy with. And then I rolled with that for probably quite a few, and then I decided, all right, well, I just need to get a professional intro and outro, and then that's when all that switched. I don't know exactly when, but that was the reason. I had used some techno, and I use that same techno music in a bunch of stuff, and I'd got I'd went and subscribed to something where you can use music instead of having to buy the rights to it.
Alitu?
No, I think it was
Epidemic Sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jinx, all in the brain. Yeah, Sean came in. He was coming in hot on that episode, and it was the dating episode. You hear techno music blasting, and then he just comes in. Hey, it's your host Sean Dustin. We're talking about dating today. I'm like, wow, techno music and everything. I feel like I'm at a party. Cool.
Maybe that was a goal. The one that said Discovery Bay, it said something about Disco Bay. Is that like a nickname for it?
Yeah, that's what they call it. They call it disco.
So maybe that was why. Maybe he was theming the whole music behind. That was his purpose at that moment.
Good theory.
Yeah, if anybody's around this area, if you say Disco Bay, everybody knows immediately where you're talking about.
Does that usually include the cocaina?
No, well, I don't know. Maybe
disco.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Anymore.
There you go.
All right, so 13 this is a really cool guy right here. And this guy is super smart, and he does a lot of cool things. He's abroad. He's from the States, but he moved abroad to go and cover certain things, and he's an advocate and a voice for refugees. And so like refugees in Syria, Lesbos, and all these different places. But this one was really cool because this is where I realized that I'm not an interviewer. And that, when you talk to somebody who knows journalism and knows how to ask questions and answer questions, and this was in this case, so you can actually, if you listen to this episode, you'll hear me get schooled, not in a rude way, but just in a way where I'm going around talking and not asking a question, and he's like, "All right, bud, do we got a question here at some point?" Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh man!" And so it's it was embarrassing, but it was also a learning moment for me. Where I was like, "Oh, dude, you can't just be half-ass about this. If you're gonna interview people that are at a certain caliber,
yeah,
you can't be half-ass
all
like I
you.
do it. Well, no, and half-ass like I've always been up until a certain point where it's okay, I do the bare minimum to get myself by. So I'll be good at a lot of things, but I'll never be great at anything, And so that's kind of where I learned and started learning more about myself and my behaviors and my habits and the things that I do that hold me back.
That's awesome.
That was the beginning of where I kind of realized that. That's a addiction story, and he had a porn addiction. So That was one of those. A vegan space witch. She is actually a vegan. She calls herself a space witch because she does charting for horoscopes.
I do those.
Okay, cool.
And so
Fun.
that was an interesting conversation. And she's 23. So it was an interesting dynamic where it's like, I have nothing in common with a 23-year-old.
Did
right?
she say the word clout?
I don't think she said clout, but it was an interesting one. I'll just say that.
I haven't heard it.
I talk about life coaches and how young people are out there trying to be life coaches now, and how how are you going to coach anybody when you haven't even been through life? You don't know anything about life until you hit your 40s. Your late 30s to your 40s.
Mm.
Your
spankings they don't count.
Yeah, really.
This one here is from a blind guy who has a podcast. His name is Dennis Sumlin. Really cool dude.
I know Dennis.
I've heard his name before.
Yeah, he's been through in a lot through the different podcast groups.
Yeah.
That was a cool one about addiction. That was a great one about
Quit messing around.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, from a financial coach. That was awesome. And we talk about how we don't get taught how to deal with finances in school. Actually, we don't get taught anything in school that really applies to life once you leave school.
That's
teach.
right.
So no,
Yeah, that's right.
And so this is a really good one to listen to, and he's probably somebody I'm going to ask to be on my panel on the nonprofit, so he can start teaching that stuff to these young guys coming out, and giving them what they didn't get in school, if they even stayed in school. So that'll be an awesome one. Quit messing around. I named it that because I used to say that all the time when I was out there doing my deed and doing drugs, and I was addicted to meth for 18 years. So,
oh man,
this story was awesome, and the reason why I chose this episode was because if you go in and you see the before and after on that picture, it's like, whoa.
Can you zoom in?
Well, the problem is if I do that, then I'm gonna have to scroll all the way back down to 19 from 20 when I go. Oh, you know what I can do? I can just do this. Here, let's go.
Pinch the screen.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Duck,
Duck, go.
I'm ducking out. I'm going.
Well, I don't want to be tracked.
Whatever.
You use Gmail. Gmail was one of your apps down there, dude. You're defeating that whole purpose. Oh, wow.
So this is why I reached out to her.
She's beautiful.
She is. That picture makes me sad.
Yeah, and it's like I've seen that all through mine. I was lucky when I was going through and using, because it didn't affect me like it did a lot of other people that I'd see around me. And this was teeth. Yeah. Hey, be nice.
No, I meant it.
She was being serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so her story was kind of unique to me because of how fast she fell. It was in less than a year that she went from that to that.
Oh my gosh.
So
wait, so that's not her now, that's her before that?
Yeah, that was her before, and then the picture right here is her now.
Oh, okay. I see.
And so I mean, like, they don't even look like the same person. It's like, it's crazy. So yeah.
What did you look like? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even have any pictures of me, because usually I moved around so much that in my addiction, I just lost any picture that I had. Like even my prison pictures, I don't even know where they are. I think I may have one when I was in the joint. So yeah, anyway, so self-sabotage is another good one, 20. This one right here was the first time that I had come out. She'd been she's from India, and she'd been almost killed by her ex-husband from abuse. And this was the first time that I came out and talked about my own struggles with abuse, and not as somebody that was abused, but an abuser. Because I was verbally and mentally and emotionally abusive in most of my relationships up to a certain point. And like that's what I've been working on in the last 2 years as well, trying to change that and deal with my own anger issues and stuff that I have that bring me to that. And the reason why I thought it was important is that if I'm going to have a platform and I'm a male, and this isn't uncommon either. A lot of abusive relationships are this, because guys will figure, well, if I hit her, then I'll go to jail. So I'll just do it this way, and that way, I can still. And it was a lot. A lot of it. Woo! A lot of it had to do with bending somebody to my will. So, and using intimidation and bullying tactics and verbal abuse and all that to kind of do that. And it was. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and she was starting to see that and recognizing it at 2 years old what that was. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to break the cycle, it's got to be now. And because I don't want her to grow up and witness what I'm doing and witness what her mom is going through and thinking that that's okay and that's normal. I want her to be able to, I want to be a role model to her as to what it's supposed to be, or what a man is supposed to be, and how treating a woman should be, And so anyways, that was really what that one was about. Perspective. So this is where I really start getting into talking about my conspiracy mind. And all the conspiracies that I start talking about, which Brandy, if you're with Wise, I don't know how hard they hit with that, but I know it does get no.
I do on myself.
So yeah, that's where that makes its appearance, and that side of my personality. Joe Potosi is a really good one. He talks about his child abuse stuff that he went through. Hold on, let me get over here.
Ouch! Sorry. My cat just clawed my thumb.
So March 23rd, this was a few days after the lockdown and where that happened. So I went through a string of episodes where I'm talking about coronavirus, all that stuff. And, everybody's kind of like, oh, we don't know what's happening. It's at the beginning. We've never been through anything like this. And so people are just having speculative conversation, basically. And that's those three. Bravery, that was an interesting one. I didn't understand it, what that meant. In the context of how she was presenting it, and it kind of comes through there. So I don't know. I might have sounded like an asshole, but I did get what she meant finally. I was like, oh, okay, so. Like, I guess bravery is different for everybody. The however you use bravery, it's different. Because when I think of it, I think of like, a fireman running into a burning building. That's brave.
Right.
I guess when she was explaining it in a different context of somebody who may be going through something, and like, I don't know, telling your story is brave for some people.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Just like pain is different for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So there was me learning that, okay, maybe you should just shut up sometimes and listen.
That was brave.
Right. There we go again. Here's the bailout and all that. And this is actually, I took 3 clips from 3 different episodes that I listened to, like the Jimmy Dore podcast, Joe Rogan, and another different one, and I kind of blended them together and made the point of something. This one was kind of a crazy one. I was really upset about where we were and the things that were happening. So if you can't read what those ats are, because I didn't want to come out and say it. I'm like general strike, civil war, revolt. So I don't think that we should do I think we should have a general strike, but I don't think that we should have a civil war or revolt. I hope it doesn't go to that point. I hope we can figure it out before it gets to that point.
It's a very angry title. Very
Yeah,
angry.
no, it was.
Yeah.
Well, I struggle with anger, so
It's okay.
I'm telling you, man, when you follow a show, what's amazing about podcasting and when you follow a show of somebody who's just starting out and has never done it before, you literally get to grow with that host and that show, and you start to see their personality coming out in the episodes, from the kind of episodes that they do to how they are and how they interact. It's so awesome, man. I love that.
It's cool, Sean, because I found you in a major podcast group, and I was like, everybody wants to go look at who the admins are or the mods. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to add this guy, Sean Dustin, because he has cool headphones in his picture. and
cool
then
headphones.
Yeah, that's sold. Okay. So I started listening to his stuff, and I was like, oh man, like this is deep. This could like really go places. And look at you now. Like, it's just amazing what you're doing.
Thank you, Tina Marie. I appreciate that. And I really do, honestly. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you and all of the insight that I get from everybody, honestly. It's because when you do a show, as you're going to find, what you need is feedback, from either your listenership or from your iTunes, from reviews, which people don't do enough of. And it's the simplest thing to do ever. It's like 3 clicks and some pokes, and that's it. And
it's free.
And it's free. That's all it takes is a little bit of time, and a lot of people just don't want to take the time to do it. And
lot of bit of time.
Yeah. And even Maria, I mean, I'm guilty of it. How many times have you asked me to go to your Google my business and give you a review? And how many
times?
How many times have I done it?
Probably none. I haven't looked, but probably 0.
I haven't done it yet. So I mean,
I'm guilty of that too. I can say.
And I used to complain about this all the time, and I said all that to say this. I used to complain about this all the time. Man, why can't people just give me a review or a thumbs up or this or that? And it's like, man, I feel like I'm begging.
I deserve it
when I'm saying it in the beginning. Hey, rate, that, all that stuff in your intro. But then I'm like, well, how many people do you review?
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
I'm like, well, I don't really. And like, well, then how can you expect anybody to do something that you won't even do yourself?
What I found is most people mean to. Like they're like, oh, I'll do that later. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'll get that done later. But it's like, you forget. And I think that's why, you do need to consistently ask, because, most people want to help. If they like your show, they want to help. It's just people get busy, they forget.
Exactly. And, and that's kind of where I figured all that stuff out as well, and started, being a little bit more consistent at that. Obviously I haven't figured it out because I'm still not doing it, but, I don't want to
interrupt. I keep staring at Tina. She's petting the cat like Dr. Evil and Austin Powers, and I can't stop looking at her. She's just like,
yeah, that's hilarious. All right, number 30 is a really interesting one, because it even threw me off. I had this guy hit me up on Messenger, and he's like, hey, I'm, blah, 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 I listened to your show and a couple of other things. And I'm like, sure, let's set something up. What's your story? He's like, well, I'm actually talking to you from prison right now. And I'm like, okay, more, tell me more. And so I did this episode with there are 3 people that hang out in prison. One of them has a contraband cell phone in his cell.
Had
suppository cell phone.
Well, they call that putting it in your suitcase.
Oh, no.
That's really what they said.
That just furthers the fact that I would not survive prison. So
I'm sick right now. I just drank kale and coffee. I didn't eat that part.
So this is an episode that was done. I changed their voices so you couldn't tell that was them. And I also did
Noodles. His name was Noodles.
Yeah, one of them's name was Noodles. So Jimmy, Sal, and Noodles. And
Wow.
two of them were there for statutory rape charges. So basically, they were having an inappropriate relationship with a younger female. I mean, it was all consensual, but you know, sometimes parents figure that out and they decide they want to press charges. And then the other one was there for murder, and so it was an interesting story. Yeah. So all three of them tell their stories, and I even kind of asked the question of the two, or one of the two that was there for statutory rape. I'm like, so I have a daughter, and I would have an issue with that age difference.
Was it a big age difference?
I can't remember what it was. It obviously,
because I mean, I think it's if it's like 3 or 4 years, that's just petty.
Yeah.
But if it's like 20 years, that's a problem for me.
And I think it was like 10 to 15, something like that.
Yeah,
it was enough to where I go, well, I wouldn't approve of that, and I'd have an issue. So do you see it from the point of, of a parent, and now that you're there and you've had time to think about it and all of that, and they did, but there's also a bad part is that I wouldn't consider that a sex crime.
Yeah,
worthy of catching the label of a sex offender.
That's
I think it would be dependent on several things. Like, did the child feel like they had to? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did they feel like they didn't have a choice in the matter because they were older? And I feel like that could go. But most of the time, no, I agree.
Yeah,
but I do think there's a slim amount of time that it could be a whole different scenario.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I'm sorry, Sean.
Go ahead.
I feel like maybe when they turn 18, the girls or boys that were involved in the case should be able to go up there and say, hey, no, like just drop it and like let this guy live, or girl just move on with their lives and not have this on their record forever.
I agragree.
They probably could have treated them really, really well and everything. And just like, ugh, the age, Then
but for these guys, I mean, their situation sounded like it wasn't one of those extreme ones, and it's like, okay, well, now you're labeled as a sex offender. Once you hit a yard, I mean, that's real shit that happens when a sex offender comes on and doesn't announce when they get there and get themselves removed from the general population before they even hit the general population. It is real that they get beat up if they get found out. I mean,
is that why they were hanging out with the murderer? Was that like a reputation thing? He was like the protector, like the bodyguard?
Yeah, well, no, I don't know. I asked them about that too, and they just kind of like, they had to explain their situation, because it's not like, hey, look, it wasn't me going in and perpetrating some crime on a like molesting or any of the other kind of things that I would think fit into that category.
Did Noodles pay with ramen for his bodyguard?
That's what he said. Noodles. I was like,
yeah.
He's got it. He has something to do with the noodles. We all.
And here, okay, so moving on, because ramen PTSD is a real thing too.
I get it.
Moria, number 31. This is Eric's his second appearance on my show, and this is where he talks about the Greek island of. It was so. Here's another editing thing or proofreading thing, because I got the name of Lesbos. It's not Lesbos. It's Lesvos. Like V is in Victor. Like
Lesbos.
Yeah, that's the name of the island. So I was like, I felt like such a douche, and I never even said anything about that, and he never said anything about that either. That like, hey, because V and B are right next to each other on the keyboard.
Oh my gosh!
So
autocorrect.
Yeah. So I didn't review it before I pushed publish, and well, I just left it.
It's good SEO.
I thought it was a play on words. I was really confused. I'll just leave that there.
I think it's great that it's there. It's funny.
And so you're gonna see right here. Here's another mistake that I made. Episode number 31, then no number, and episode 31. So I made a mistake there as well. So I don't know what was happening around this time period that I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, but there's a grouping of that. Personality is permanent. That was a great episode with that. He's actually a doctor, PhD. Stephen Johns was a good one. This guy, some of the pictures on this one too are kind of crazy. This kid he almost died as a kid because of his SJS-10.
What's that?
Well, what happened was basically his skin started falling off and his body was eating itself.
Oh my gosh. It's terrible.
So if we go down, I'll show you the pictures of it. They were hard to look at.
I don't think I can look, actually. I really can't. That's like that's like modern day leprosy then?
No, it had something to do with, so like he had like 106 fever, he lost his sight and all this stuff, and so it's like his you'd have to listen to the episode for him to tell you exactly what was going on with it. But
I didn't listen to that one. I'm gonna have to take a listen after this.
What number is that?
This one is number 33.
Kanye West song.
So like
no, I can't.
Those are burned, like his body temperature, almost like he'd been burned, but it wasn't. It was his temperature got so hot.
Poor little baby.
Internally.
Sad.
So yeah, he ended up blind and everything.
Oh my gosh.
And so I don't know if for people out there that use Libsyn, or people that have a show or listen to a show that is hosted by Libsyn, you can actually add comments down to the on the page itself of the shows. So I mean, I don't know a whole lot of people if they know that or not.
Yeah.
Unknown caller.
Oopsies.
All
Sorry.
right.
It's an unknown caller. It's probably important.
It's Wyoming. Who's calling me from Wyoming? I don't want your cheese.
So we got a couple more life coaches. This is where the co-host Lori Rising jumps in, and we had a really good chemistry, and we had good conversation. So I'd asked her to come on and join me as a co-host, and because the contrast between us were so different. Like I'm this kind of chauvinistic-ish kind of guy, and she's this like woo-woo Portland, Oregon, dreads, or she, would be the kind of girl that would have dreads, and just kind of out there, just woo-woo all the way around. But
woo-woo.
But she would call me on stuff, right? Which was good because not a lot of people in my life or around me call me on anything. And so I thought that would be a good contrast to have as far as transparency and authenticity. She would keep me honest in those episodes and call me on some of my chauvinistic shit. So
do you ever think back, Sean, at any of these episodes, and have you ever like lied in an episode, blatantly lied, and has it haunted you if you have?
Like blatantly lied, like is in like give me an example.
Like just outwardly made up a story or did anything like that? Or have you always been as honest as it really does appear? And I believe it is all genuine. I'm just curious because like it just, it's just like me doing a science experiment on you. I just want to know.
Experiment.
Yeah. No, I everything that you see is what you see is what you get.
Yay.
I may not talk about things. I may hold back some stuff that, because you do have to have a balance of private public, right?
Yeah.
There are some things that I may not talk about at a certain point because I'm maybe going through that or going through something and I haven't processed it yet myself to know how I even feel about it or like what role that I played in it, if any, or maybe it was all because of me. I got to go through that, and then I'll end up talking about it at some point and the lessons that I learned from it. I think the hardest thing for me that I've had to talk about so far and be honest about was being abusive. That's embarrassing.
That took some courage. That was courage right there.
And
I agree.
Thank you. But it's that's not hard to have to hear, to even put that label behind your name. That like I was abusive. Like, fuck, that sucks, man. I don't like hearing that about myself. And having to look at it and dissect it, figure out where it came from, why do I do it, and all of that stuff. And the more that I talk about it, the easier it gets for me to accept that, look, that's what you were, that's not what you are. Own it and learn from it and be an advocate against it.
Yeah, and accept what you did wrong because you know that it was wrong, and then move on. What you have.
honoring the victims of my abuse is what I feel like I'm doing. Yes, I was wrong in how I did some things and dealt with some things, but I'm honoring you as people that were victimized by me by being an advocate for people like you. And now trying to be an example for other men out there as to how to be. You know what I mean? Because a lot of men out there don't know how to be men. I mean,
that's true.
That's plain and simple. And it's not that they don't know how to be men and sort of like, oh, I'm a man, macho masculinity. It's being a man is a lot of things.
A gentleman.
You know what I mean? And just like, people get being a father. You can be a father. You could be a father to offspring, but what does being a father really mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of people get that mixed up. A lot of guys get that mixed up too. If you're not in your kid's life, you're not a father.
Right. Did you do an episode on that?
No, not yet.
You should. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. We got future episode things. All right. I'm going to speed this up because if I keep going at this rate, we'll be here for 3 hours.
Favorites.
So cannabis, I'm an advocate. I microdose daily, if you don't know that already. And microdosing, for those that don't know or understand what that means or even is a minute amount that gives you the benefits and the wellness of the medicine, but doesn't take you to the high. So it's the point just before the high that you still get the benefits and the well-being aspect of either THC, CBD. CBD doesn't get you high, but if there's THC involved, that would be what a microdose is considered. So
CBD helps. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah,
I love CBD
for inflammation and all that.
Yeah.
Living authentically here. This one was important because I have a trans sibling.
Oh yeah.
And so she is she had the gender reassignment surgery and she's a woman now. And so trying to understand that is why I talk to other trans folks and have them on my show, because like I don't necessarily understand it even now, even though it's my sister, I still don't get it in a certain way. So to me, talking about it and talking to people that are there that can give me their perspective, and at some point then I'll take all that and then I'll talk to my own sister in a way and maybe even have her on the show and deal with it. So I really
it says a lot though.
Yeah, well, I really use this show to talk to people and deal with my own stuff. You know what I mean? And like almost, and then bring people along with my journey of trying to find out and figure out me. That's what a lot of it is. There's some other good ones there. Eating healthy, because I think that's really important. I struggle with weight, and I'm up to 275 now, and I got down to 225 probably 2 years ago, so I've put it all back. The COVID 35 really didn't help.
Yeah. Do you think that's because of the addiction in the past?
No, it's because I cook really good, and I like to
Oh.
I like to eat what I cook. And
Yes.
when somebody says that this is a serving, I'm like, no, it is not. My servings cover the whole plate, and so yeah, I need to get that under control. But it's I'd rather be figuring it out or trying to, because I do this all the time. I yo-yo. I'll knock off 20 pounds and then put it back on, and then get lazy and go eat fast food and do all the things that aren't good for me. And then I'll jump back on the train and go, all right, and get it all back down to turn around and do the exact same thing. So I haven't figured out how to just not go back to eating like crap. But I mean, I'm sorry, French fries are good.
Yeah, they are.
How can you not?
I don't like French fries.
What? Extra greasy with Parmesan?
Oh man, all that fried food and bar food and stuff like that. I like it.
I made 3 types of breadcrumbed different meats the other night because I was on that tip. I was like, ooh, I'm doing sirloin steak with Parmesan and breadcrumbs and chicken. I made everything.
I know. I see some of you're doing. I'm like, uh-oh, she's on one today.
Yeah, I'm usually on 4.
That's the second episode with Lori Rising. We're gonna, and I had Brandy listen to the final episode, and I have an explanation that I have to give on that episode as well. There's some other cool stuff here. Scott talks about essential oils and toxic foods and kind of like all the different cleaning solutions and toxic stuff we have in our home. Mm-hmm. And how some of all that stuff that we don't even know, like when you go and spray some Windex on your window and you use and you're getting all that Windex in your hands, and that absorbs into your body. And I figured out the first time when I used to sell drugs and I was capping up ecstasy in gel caps, that I didn't use a glove. And so like, into like the 200th capsule, I'm like going,
yikes.
I'm like, man, what's going on? This shirt feels good. And so, yeah, that was when I first learned about how you need to wear gloves when you're doing shit.
It's ironic, like isn't Clorox or Windex something that they put in methamphetamine? Or something like that. I thought it was cleaning supplies.
I don't know, man. But when I was in prison, somebody told me something, and I don't know if this works or not. But they said that if you took I'm not going to tell. I don't want to give anybody any ideas. But basically, what it comes down to is you do something with a metal screen, and you spray Raid on it, and it's hooked up. It's hooked up to electricity somehow, and so it burns a lot of the stuff off and does some sort of a reaction with the metal and that. And so then you turn around, and you tap it off, and I guess that's a form of meth. So I'm like, that's crazy.
To do that, like who comes up with that?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm sitting here having like a heart attack about it because I don't even use, like you were mentioning, bleach and Windex. I don't use that. I use everything natural. We are like all natural.
Same, because you know what I noticed when I used to clean with products that weren't, I felt high sometimes. Like I would just keep cleaning like nonstop. Like I felt like I was on something, and like I realized I'm not addicted to cleaning. I'm probably addicted to the chemicals.
Yeah, I can't do it.
That's hilarious. All right, so I'm a little slow on these that have been coming in, but Jeff Ravia says, don't track me. Okay, well we won't track you.
We're tracking you.
Jordan Barnes says, what's up from Hawaii? And Jordan is going to be a future guest. He has a book about addiction that is called One Hit Away, I believe. One Hit Away, a memoir of recovery. I just happened to have that on because I was listening to his audiobook that he was kind enough to give me a code to listen to.
Aw.
Scott Curtis, congrats on 100. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get back over to here. So 2 guys talking about personal growth. That was actually a really insightful. If you want to hear a good conversation between 2 men just talking about like
That's a first.
feelings, no, like feelings and actual, like not fluff, like real stuff. That was a good one to listen to. This one was good too.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah, the Holly, she's actually in law school now. So she took her situation and has turned it into something where she's now an advocate for people that are in there and are trying to make things happen for those that are incarcerated, and I think probably all over federal as well.
Yeah.
There's another Lori one. If you want to know good stuff about podcasts and different strategies, that's a good one to listen to. Ravi has a lot of good information. Another diet one, alternative media sources. So this is one of my favorite shows to listen to and my favorite host on alternative media. And this was the first bigger name that I had gotten on my show, and realized that if you don't ask, you never give people an opportunity to say no.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Or yes. And so that was kind of like where I kind of realized that, just start hitting people up, finding guests that match what you want to, like what your personality or what you think will be interesting conversation. And there's a lot of different ways that you can find guests that you don't have to go through those pod booking agencies or if anybody's trying to charge you money, I mean, I get it. There are business models that are successful with doing that. But it's easy enough to find your own guests. And all you have to do is listen to a show, right? Like find a category, listen to shows of people that you like to listen to and have guests that you like and enjoy. And then hit up that show, because they're always going to leave their information. Hit up that
network.
show. Yeah, and ask them, hey, man, I really, you gave them a listen, so that's a plus for you that you even listened to the episode and you're giving them some feedback. But say, hey, man, I really like that guest. Could you help me out? I would like to have them on my show. And I would say probably 80% of the time they're going to help you out.
Yeah. Some people do get offended, but 80%, I agree with that number.
Yeah. So you have to try. If you don't try, you're not going to get any result that you want.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate how consistent you've been throughout all of this. I mean, your guests are always on par with the topics that you find interesting or you want to understand more about or you're really passionate about. So I think that's what makes your show really unique.
Well, thank you, Tina. There's some more. Here's another interesting one. 54. That was I interviewed her from prison, and I have at least 10 more people that I've interviewed with similar stories that were connected to this exact same conspiracy. I just haven't gotten around to getting to them because I wanted to have their story, but I also wanted to include the parents or family members or loved ones, and so I can get their perspective too as well, because everybody's doing time in that situation when someone goes to prison, and so and a lot of it had to do with the fact that none of these people said that they were innocent, but what their problem is that they get wrapped up in a conspiracy and they're drug addicts, and a lot of them have never even been offered drug treatment and all the times that they've been in and out of jail. And there's she's sitting with 33 years. She's a drug addict. She's not a murderer. She's not anything, you know what I mean? And so these exorbitant amounts of time are handed out in the federal system. And I'm going to plug my episode on Thursday because I will be talking to a federal attorney, and we're going to be talking about this exact same problem. the conspiracy charge and how the prosecutors misuse it.
They need to do away with it.
No, they do, and so that should be part of what the prison reform thing is, you know. And so who knows what's going to happen with that? But yeah, that's what that one's about. The Con. This one is another one that I'm really liked. And the story behind it was I got somebody hit me. So The Con is a true crime documentary series about the 2008 financial crisis. It really gives you an idea of what happened that The Big Short doesn't tell you, because The Big Short was a good movie. If anybody out there has seen it, it was sort of about the, you know, of what happened in shorting the stock and everything else. And so this episode, or this true crime documentary series, really digs in and gives you the whistleblowers. It gives you the people that tried to warn everybody about it, and it fell on deaf ears. So, and the reason why I did it as a swap cast is I didn't feel like my show had as big a reach as Ricky Veranda's. And so I passed the torch to him, because I thought that this was a story that needed to be told, and an audience that needed a bigger reach than what I had. And so I'm like, can you do it and interview him? And that way he can get your audience reach. And he goes, well, why don't we just do this? How we do it as a swap cast? I'll have you on as a co-host, and then we can both do it. And so that was a joint venture there. If anybody wants to know more about or watch this, the first episode is actually free at thecon.tv. You can watch the first episode for free, and then there's 4 more that you can pay $10 to see the whole thing. It's really worth it. It once you see it, you'll be like, oh my God. And it really will kind of explain where we're at today too, in a way. Reformed, rehabilitated. This was one where I'm advocating for Richard Midkiff, which he actually didn't lose his freedom. They commuted his sentence, and he's actually working in as a legal person too. So here's another example of somebody who turned their situation into something now where they're trying to help other people in their same situation. Trauma. I talk a lot about trauma. This was with a person that wrote the book. Of all of the people that I'm talking about, Melissa Veach, and she was in that. So I'd reached out and hooked up with them. Intergenerational trauma, that's interesting. That's a real thing too. PTSD.
Yes.
So number 63, Brandy.
I was right. Who's that?
Yep. So we were supposed to stay away from the topics that were highly charged and political and all that. So we had talked about that in the beginning, that we're not going to do that. So Brandy, tell me about that episode and how you saw it.
Yeesh. I'm kidding. No. You started out, because I went through the whole motions. I started from the beginning and just listening, and then I heard a shift, and that's when you began to tell your personal, your what you went, your experience, when you spoke about a certain, you had been, you said jumped by some black guys, so that's the, for you it was like your reaction, and you would like cross the street just being cautious, because you have that memory, that thought, it resonates with you. And I think that's where she lost it. But, but you kept repeating to her, like, that's my experience, like that's what happened to me. So that's my experience. And to me, it seemed like she was trying to tell you that you're a racist first, that you both are racist, and that how she was dealing with hers and how you should deal with yours, so that you're not racist anymore. But I don't even think you came off as saying, I don't think you even knew you were racist at the time. But you're like, I don't think I'm racist. And I didn't take it as you're racist. I took it as you were speaking about how something affected you, and that was your story. And I think she took it as she seemed really, she really personalized it. It seemed like I felt like I was like, if I could see her, like she was gonna run off the stage or something, like she couldn't handle it anymore. But I think that listening to her tell her I guess what she experienced, I didn't really hear her talk about much what she experienced. It seemed like more she just kept saying we were raised to be racist, you know,
Wow.
and yeah, but I was kind of waiting to hear like, well, what happened? But she didn't really want to talk about it because when you didn't know what to say, you said, well, you're referring to her like you probably been this happened to you and this and that, and she's like, please don't bring me into this. My stuff, don't tag my stuff with yours. And I was just like,
Oh,
she made me uncomfortable for a minute.
that's too much.
Yeah, but I was still open minded to like, okay, she's processing something's going on there. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
she
it
said,
sounds like it.
yeah, but she says she's a happy-go-lucky person, and then she loves everyone. You know what I mean? But I could still see that whatever she felt was going on. I don't know. I'm beyond totally honest with you. She lost me. Like something was going on there because all you said was what you went through, and that's how you thought you. That's how it made you feel. You didn't say anything disrespectful, and you made sure you kept it to your experience. And it seemed like from after that, she was just very adamant on the whole aspect. I guess all white people are racist and we're raised to be racist. And even I, as I'm learning to use melanin tone woman. And you can call me black. I'm just this is some new stuff I'm trying out here. I'm melanin. Um, don't think that everybody's taught. You know what I mean? First of all, I don't think a lot of people even know what they need to know what the word means. I find out a lot of people know what the word. I'm like, no, go back to your dictionary and come back. Then we'll talk about it. You know, and then people are like, oh, black people can be racist. I'm like, no, that's not the correct word. Prejudice.
Brandy and I actually talked about this when I was on your show, Brandy.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, getting jumped by 3 guys, period, doesn't matter what color they are, that's still traumatizing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was trying to explain to her. It's like, you know, I've been jumped by Mexicans, I've been jumped by black guys. And so I think I mean, I get where she was coming from because she was trying to say, okay, well, that's your trauma then. So that's your trauma that you need to deal with. And if once you deal with your trauma, then you probably wouldn't go and have to cross the street. But I don't care. I mean, if there's a bunch of young kids or younger males of a certain ethnicity, I think anybody would be kind of alarmed. You know what I mean? Especially if they're dressed a certain way.
In Cali.
You know what I mean? And I guess to combat that, if they were older males, or if they were dressed in suits, would you still cross the street? And my answer is no, I probably wouldn't, because I wouldn't feel like it. And it's not that I don't even think it's racist. It's just cautious. Like, why would you want to put yourself in a situation that you don't know what may happen? You know,
I mean, there could be a bunch of white guys with bald heads, Ku Klux Klan people. I'd stay away from. It would be like stay away from them too. Yeah, like no, I'm not dealing with that.
I'd cross the street on that situation as well. So anyways, the thing was that we haven't. That was the end of our run together, and I haven't talked to her since then.
Oh man.
And a part of that is me. Because
what episode is that? I want to go back and listen to that now. I'm like the drama. I'm like, oh,
60.
We got the whole story.
And so I have a bad habit of just cutting people off and not contacting them again because I don't want to be bothered with the confrontation of it. Mm-hmm. And so I do feel bad that I did this with this individual, and at some point I'm going to have to reach out to her and just see, you know what I mean? Because as a person, you know what I mean? And you know, we shared time together. I mean, I'd say 4 hours. That makes you a little bit more than just an acquaintance. Mm-hmm. And so, like, it's about me learning how to treat people right. And I saw that as some of my old behavior as just like cutting people off, and as like, I don't like that it's that easy for me to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it goes to show like, okay, well then how good of a, like, if you considered them a friend, then how good of a friend were they if you could just cut them off that quickly? And
Well,
I've had
that's your
friends,
trauma too.
yeah, and I've had friends do that to me in the past, and I didn't like it. So it's just about finding, you know, figuring out my flaws, and trying to address them, but doing it in a public way to where I bring you along with me as I'm addressing them. So
just the fact that you think that is,
What was that, Brady?
I said when, like, because I've had that experience before too, and I actually tried to, you know, when I friendships and stuff, they go array, and I'm really good at like going incognito. I call it, like, I was dismissed. I'm gone. Bam, you know, out of here. Worry about me again. But you know, I tried not to do that. You know, in a certain friendship, I was like, you know, stick around. We're gonna work on this. We're gonna literally like work on this. You know, because I think when you have rough times, that those are just gonna happen. You know, and you just have to try to figure out, okay, how do we, because then it's never going to be perfect. So then what's your friendship really based off of? It's like every time we have a, you know, issue, it's like, so then you like walk around tippy toes, you know what I mean? Because you don't want to, like, you know, like mess it up. But it's like, no, it's about like what you do after when you get to that point. And then that's what makes it, you know, like real and stuff. So it's because isn't that Tina kind of turns to like, I would say that. It made me think of that whole, the narcissist thing, kind of like you don't want to, I guess that's different. Could be.
Well, no, wait, are you narcissists as in what, in which way? Like, do you mean like you have an ego for feeling that way?
I was thinking that's the behavior. Like you don't want to, like, kind of like, you know what I mean, so quick, you know, it's like either here or there. You're like, oh, I don't like you anymore. You do something wrong. And then you just so easy to dismiss them versus there's no middle ground. Like, okay, we're still good. But it's like, nope, you're the worst person ever.
That's like, I feel like that's very egotistical. It's close to narcissism.
And they just want to make them happy. You know, like, whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of people have narcissistic traits. I mean, I think we all do to a certain extent.
We all do.
But there's just there's that point where you know, narcissist turns from, I think true narcissism and a true narcissist is somebody who has no empathy, and is somewhat sociopathic.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and that's where I there's a lot of things that I do, and I know this about myself, that I have a lot of the narcissistic traits, but the one thing that saved me is that I feel bad about things that I do.
Right, there you go. That is so important.
You know, and the empathetic part of that I possess. So that's what kept me from going into that sociopathic. Truly narcissistic.
Well, sociopaths are born, and narcissists are often created, and it's a personality disorder. So a lot of people will call somebody a narcissist, but they're not technically a narcissist unless they've been diagnosed with it. But it's pretty easy to call when you see it, right? No narcissist is going to walk into a psychologist's office and tell the doctor, "Hey, help me! I love myself so much." Like,
I'm suffering from too much self-love.
I'm suffering from being so attractive.
I was doing a reading on the sociopath. Like, that's the difference. Like, they don't connect. You know what I mean? They don't feel that emotion. You know, the stuff in our brains that make us feel emotion and all that stuff. It's like they don't even have that at all whatsoever. That's why they're just so, you know, they don't connect emotionally. So I always wondered what that was.
They can they cut people off too, but it doesn't make you a narcissist just because you have that. You might have abandonment issues.
Yeah, but I was thinking about cutting off, like cutting people off when you're talking.
Oh, sorry.
So we're no, not sorry. Never mind. So Holly, a former guest, Holly, checked in. She said it'll be interesting, your perspectives, and I imagine she was talking about the covert races deal. Nicole just chimed in. Sure, but they can only be diagnosed if they seek help. That is very true. True narcissists would never admit that. Nope. They gaslight the hell out of you. That's for sure.
Yeah, they'll gaslight a doctor.
So moving on, 65, that was a really good one about a perspective from somebody who was affected by an alcoholic. So the other side of addiction. Here's another one, workplace culture. That was a great one.
Oh,
And
Scott Silverman.
Yep, Scott Silverman. This guy is really cool.
Yeah, he's so cool.
Yeah, he has a great story. And there's a really fun, like if you listen to the clip that I have in the beginning of this one, it's hella funny. The way that he does it, and how he explained what he used to do. He's a really good guy. He's a part of IPU too. He is a participant of that. And for anybody who doesn't know what IPU is, it's Indie Pods United. Maria, myself, and Tina are the founders of. Well, Maria is the actual founder.
You mean Tina?
Tina. Sorry, Tina is the actual.
Maria
founder.
counts.
I always get your guys' names.
Tina
confused.
Maria.
Yeah, Tina Maria.
Tina Maria.
That's why.
Yeah, there we go.
Tina is
Hybrid.
the original founder and brought all Tina or Maria and myself in, as well as Jeff and a few other folks. And so we plan on doing
People are going to be so confused. You said so many names.
It doesn't matter. Just
Tina
never
Maria, Tina Maria, Tina.
don't pronounce the IPU without the dots in between. Like, don't say it as a word.
IPU. IPU.
IPU.
IPU.
I'm sorry, I had to. I'm so grown up.
Thank you, Nate. I appreciate that. I appreciate the listenership. And Nate was actually on one of my previous, more recent episodes about he had a brother that committed suicide, and he struggled with schizophrenia, and it was that was I talk a lot about trauma. Because I believe that, trauma is the gateway drug, and that untreated trauma should be the number one public safety issue. It shouldn't be a punitive thing. It should be a mental health thing.
Yeah.
We're going through right now, this whole pandemic, COVID, and all this death. It's like, there's a lot of mental health issues already before this that are untreated. So many deaths. Bullying went up by 26%. There's some kids, like I know out here, that have attempted to hurt themselves. I've had a few friends that had their children try to attempt, suicide.
Yeah,
and
that's sad.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm not gonna talk over you.
Well, no, I was just, it's something that needs to be talked about. You know what I mean? Not in a way to normalize it, but in a way to be like, look, man, there's the more we can talk about it and get these stories out there, the more people can realize that, hey, this is a big issue. Yeah. And it's happening more and more frequently and at younger ages than ever before. Like, how does that even become an option? You know what I mean? Like at that young of an age.
Yeah, the youngest I heard was 8 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's terrible.
And I did some research, and yeah. And, my son, he had, bullying and stuff, so I kind of took it from there, and I just kind of delved into it. And 8 years old, kind of, like you said, how is that even an option or a choice? Like, where's that come from? So,
yeah.
Ahead,
there's also the other side of things. I just want to throw this little tidbit in there. I mean, there's people that fake that they have some kind of mental illness because they just want to get medication, and it's so unfair because there's people that are in line to get Medicare and Medicaid, and they can't because these people that just want the drugs are taking their spot, basically.
Yeah, I'm sure that is a thing too. They used to do that in prison all the time. They would fake it so they get their medication, and they'd cheek it, and they turn around and sell it for commissary.
Right.
Everybody's got a hustle
noodle somewhere.
Yeah, to
noodle. They hit up noodle.
All right, here goes Nate.
I'm learning so much. I have no idea about any of this stuff. I'm like, what?
Fresh out the box.
Yep. And Nate, that's the reason he's starting his podcast on suicide, because of his situation with his brother. And I will be helping Nate with anything that he needs as far as like how to run a show, how to get guests, how to do all that other stuff. Because anybody out there, if you come to me and you ask me for help, I'm going to help you, because I was there at one point. and not everybody can afford to hire a coach to teach you how to do this or do that. And I think it's really important. And what I've really gotten from this community of podcasters, of all of them, the whole community in a whole, from all these groups that I belong to, is that most of us help each other out. There's not like this feast or famine mentality there. It's a really good community. And of course, in every community, you're going to have some jack-offs, and you're going to have
bad guys.
Yeah. You're going to have some issues, but by and large, you don't see people stabbing each other in the back or afraid to give you information because you're not the enemy, but competition. There's not really a lot of competition in podcasting because we all have different stories and different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Well, I had political podcasters come at me. I'm not going to get into that, but there's definitely podcast drama that can happen.
Well, there's drama anytime you involve humans at all, but overall, I think Sean's right that the podcasting community is, by far one of the most kind of embracing communities I've been in.
Yeah, definitely. Them and the UFO groups.
Yeah. Flat Earthers, are you on the Flat Earth groups?
Yeah, the Flat Earthers. Sorry.
I love, what's funny? I've talked to that dude, David Weiss. I interviewed him. He's in one of my ones that are going to come out. It's one of these days.
Who is it?
David Weiss. He's one of the leading people that's out there right now talking about flat Earth and all that.
I have a lot of questions for him. There's some things that do not make sense to that theory.
I can hook you up with him.
I think we live in a dome. We're living in a dome.
All right, Nicole Weaver, love that. I'm excited to start mine this summer.
Just kidding.
Already feeling super supported. It's great to have a community. You're absolutely right, Nicole. It is.
Yay.
All right, back to these so we can roll through them. This thing is taking longer than I thought it was, but that's
my bladder is not going to hold much longer. My coffee.
I already went.
Feel free to move if you got to move and do what
May
you
I
gotta
use the
do.
potty?
Yeah, it's going to happen soon.
I'm actually going to use the bathroom for a second.
All right.
Sorry.
So number 69, and don't get fooled by the number. This is a really good one, and I talked to Stephen Grumbine. He's a part of a group called the Real Progressives, and he definitely they talk a lot about MMT, which is modern monetary theory, and our Americans' misconception on how our monetary system actually works. And he gave a really good explanation of all of that, and he does a really good show too as well. The progressives, and this was at a time when I didn't really know, I was trying to figure out where I was going to vote because I'd never voted before. This was the first time that I voted, so I was looking at third-party options because I don't really believe in the two-party duopoly. To me, that's part of the main reason why our system's so broken. And so he gave a good account of our monetary system and how taxes don't make it back around to fund things. We haven't, when you say it's taxpayer funded, and you hear people out there screaming, "Oh, my tax dollars!" Well, when they take the taxes out, they don't actually go back around to fund anything.
Right.
And our currency is a fiat currency system, which is not backed by gold anymore, which means that it's just created. They create money at will. So, when they...
Out of denim.
Well, whatever it is that they created out of. A lot of it is corruption, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
When they create that, so do you ever ask yourself, how come we can afford $7 billion to bail out different things here and there and give all this money to other countries? How can we afford that, but we can't afford Medicare for all?
Because it's useless money.
Or we can't afford, all these other things to take care of people in our own home countries, in our own states, and our own things. Well, they can. They could create that just as easily as they could. Inflation's a real thing. I get that. And there are some things that are tied to that. But by and large, if they can afford to give $7 billion in bailouts, and the number is astronomical since 2008, how many bailouts that have actually happened, and the amount of money that has been given to certain things. So,
and the amount of
their jobs, and they need to be healthy and get health care, right? They just go work. Well, then can we take care of ourselves so we can keep slaving away at their jobs for you? Thank you.
Yeah, it's by design. You can listen to my homeboy RL Malpica.
Hey,
and he talks about by design quite a bit in how these systems work and run. So let's move back to here. I've got like 30 more to go. Let's run through.
I'll read them for you. I'm just kidding.
Fiona Eckersley, that was a really good one. She talks about toxicity in relationships and dysfunctionality. I like having female perspectives. I mean, if anybody doesn't know this about me, I was raised by women. I was raised by a single mother. I had mostly women in my life, so sometimes I feel a lot more comfortable with them. And how to, I don't know. It's just what I was raised with.
I find that interesting that you had problems with abuse in the past on women when you were raised by them.
Usually abuse comes from a problem inside, though. Like that's going on within the person. And usually it's projected onto other people.
That's
typically.
true. That's true. But sometimes it's from like the trauma of their childhood. But you, Sean, you had like good women around you, right?
Yeah, I had good women around me, but I also grew up in an abusive household.
Okay. That's
from
what it is.
From what I was told, I didn't like any time that it would start. My brother or my siblings would like rush me into grab me and take me into a closet and start singing to me, so I couldn't hear all the stuff.
I'm gonna cry.
I mean, I would imagine though that I must have witnessed some of it because I did the same thing.
Oh,
so that subconscious stuff, that shadow, and it's actually called shadow work. The subconscious stuff that we do that we don't even realize that we do is our shadow selves that we usually try to hide from people. 72, that was a good one. Spike Cohen, he was the Libertarian Party's vice presidential candidate alongside Joe Jorgensen for this year.
So cool.
Yeah, he was. That was a good one. I liked a lot of the stuff that he was saying, and like I was saying, I was looking at different options of where I wanted to vote this year and what other people had to offer. Because up to last year or 2016, I didn't even know that I could vote, and I'd been out of prison for I don't know. I think I got out in 2006, and 2016 is when I realized, I could vote.
Gosh, they didn't tell you at the DMV.
Yeah, I heard Snoop Dogg even had he said he didn't know he could vote.
Yeah, and so that's what I was kind of trying to do there. Cindy Deroser and Eric Vaughn, those are two other of the producers from the con. So I had 3 of the producers on there talking about that.
Ooh, imposter syndrome.
Yeah, there's some more bravery stuff.
bravery stuff. You should make a song out of that.
You're killing
Just cut
me.
that clip.
Intro. Make it as a new intro.
Bravery stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we can write the jingle. We did it for Jeff.
Oh yeah, we did. For about an hour.
Po duty. Yeah, po duty. So we're good. We're great at it.
I wrapped it.
I wrecked them.
Yeah.
Number 75 is more conspiracy stuff. She's a really good investigative journalist. She was actually a journalist. She went to NYU. She's got a lot of good stuff to say there. You know who Jack O'Halloran is, Tina?
Yeah, he pokes me on Facebook a lot.
Yeah, he's really got some really good information about because his dad was in the mob.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's in the mob.
Yeah,
Like
His
the actual
daddy.
mob?
yeah, like the
Look
real
at
mob.
JFK stuff and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
He's got interesting stories.
Yeah, he does. I could, but the thing was with him is that I couldn't tell if he was angry talking at me or
I
talking
know.
at me.
I feel like he's like
I
my
think
Italian like uncle or something.
that's just how he talks, I think. Because I do the same thing. And Sean, you do too, actually.
Do I? Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
know.
We all kind of,
Right,
all
I
of us
know.
kind of do. Yeah, Maria, you too. Brandy,
Yeah.
like we're all doing it right now. I have to smile all the time so people know I'm not being a bitch.
Yeah, I couldn't read him, so I was like going, God, is he mad at me? I'm like thinking in my head, is he mad at me? Did I say something wrong? And but that's just kind of how it was. That's how
He
he
got
is.
talked like the whole time. Yeah.
This is a good one. I also will advocate
Tiger
or
King.
help other people advocate for wrongful convictions. So like anytime somebody's trying to amplify or call out corruption or wrongdoings and stuff like that, I will definitely reach out and try to help them boost their signal of whatever it is that they're trying to get out there.
Yeah, that one will have you in tears. I was in tears like within 20 minutes.
Joe
that
Martinez,
story.
He's the one that actually turned me on to all of those dope ghost conspiracy cases, which started with Melissa Veach. And you can go to his podcast. It's called Talk from the Cell Block, and he has interviewed all of the people that I have yet to put out yet. So if you wanted to see kind of a preview of who's going to be coming out on mine when I get around to those, you can go check his podcast out. The Mosaic, this dude is amazing. And
I love him.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's really cool. He the way that he looks at things and his perspectives and how he kind of breaks stuff down, and the stories that he gives. Because he's a Jewish gentleman. And a lot of the times they tell stories to kind of paint pictures of what they're trying to explain, and it's really kind of cool. I love that about that culture. All the stories from the Torah and everything else that they sort of relate things to.
He's truly a hippie.
Yeah, I think that's what got me too. But as soon as he opened his mouth, I was already like, like that's my kind of there. Like.
When I was on his show, he immediately got me to open up out of nowhere. Like he psychic ability'd me. It brought it out of me.
Yeah, he's really easy to talk to. He's got the kind of voice that just comforts you and kind of wraps around you and
like
feels.
Hug.
Yeah, it does. His voice wraps around you and gives you the comfort to be able to you feel like you can tell him anything.
Yeah.
And he's got a beautiful wife too.
Yeah, he does.
Not that is anything.
Hey, if you ever see this, just kidding.
Neil Young is cool. It's another coach. Some more suicidal stuff, abusive parenting. Some more food. David Deroser, 83 was the one that I was talking about that got me to want to even get more involved in. If nothing else, go to this guy's TEDx talk, and it's all the links are in this episode. That TEDx talk is what sprung me into action about wanting to contact him and get him on my show. Immediately, within 40 minutes, I'd made contact with him from watching that TEDx talk.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so
you definitely get great guests.
Thank you. Wise, there's your boy. Number 85. I had Wise on the show.
Like him.
Yeah, he's a really cool dude, man. And Poppy J.
Yeah.
Hey.
Poppy J's a fool, man. That dude has me cracking up all the time.
Did you guys see my TikTok videos I did of all of we're all in a conversation and I was me. And then I did every character and I'm all looking at them, and then I did Poppy J and I did Wise. And then I did another one on it. They still haven't commented on it.
Can you do a Sean Dustin?
There we go.
Can you do the Sean Dustin?
That would be great. Please do a TikTok on that.
Yeah, I have not figured out TikTok yet. I have it, but there's just so many things. There's so many apps out there that
I feel like I'm too old for TikTok. I can't get into it.
Yeah. As well, if we make a Sean Dustin dance, though,
it
could go. We should do it.
I can see
the old people on there doing that.
There's dance slide, and then there's the trauma hate crime, hate war. It's like a whole hate. They call it race, like a racial hate thing going on over there that nobody knows about. Just everybody hears TikTok and they think, "Oh, dance, dance," and I'm just like, "Yeah, dance." God, I
Well,
wish that
man,
was just it. I don't know how I got pulled into that, but and that's
so
crazy.
do you use it? Do you use it to promote your show or anything like that? Like,
I originally started because when COVID, the lockdown hit, I used it to as an outlet and then to like make people laugh and lighten up and stuff. And then so now I'm starting to use it as that. But before I would just that's what it was for. And then it turned into a movement actually. It's not as bad as I make it seem. It kind of is, but it turned into a whole movement over there. I've
It's
never
not, but
seen
it
anything
is,
like
but it's not.
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That's how we twisted it. It needs to it's a story. Like I needed like mental like
It's too fast for me. It's like too ADHD for me because
that's-
it's like too much stuff going on in there. Like it's confusing, and for me, like words mean more to me than like seeing someone do something. I think
Yeah.
like
I like to get on there for the silly stuff, like the goofy
Yeah.
dances or like something goofy like that. But
I'll get it really twisted over there because you'll be on one side and then you'll meet somebody and they'll be like, "Help me! I don't know how I ended up on the racist side of TikTok, but please get me out of it."
oh
So you
my
actually have
gosh,
to type in stuff just to get them to get back. It's I don't know
what?
how. To do it.
I'm
Yeah,
so confused. There's
That's
a different
crazy.
side, like a
yeah. I think it's all
Oh.
algorithm, but it's something tricky about it because I noticed this
Yeah.
happens to me too, and I'm like, wait, how did I get on here? But I just that's why I have to get off.
that's
That's
crazy.
crazy. Jinx,
Yeah, jinx.
Jinx.
you owe me soda.
Yeah. Two for
Chicken noodle
flinching.
soup.
Two for
going back
flinching.
to 7th grade.
We technically all are very young people inside.
Yeah, right. All right, so number 86, that's R.L. Malpica. He's got a really good perspective on what he talks about, and the brother is very well spoken. I like listening to him because
Woke.
he's yeah. Well, I wouldn't even say woke. He's got good perspectives and he listens to both sides and he doesn't like he's not quick to react to things. He's very measured or metered or whatever that word is.
Awesome.
I-
He's just very
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like listening to him.
Yeah, he gets you. He hooks you in
Yeah, he hooks you
With
in
that-
for sure.
with that pop filter.
No, number 88, and this is so this was the person I was talking to you about, and I know Jeff Perini. He used to interact with her quite a bit on Facebook because she was really what was her name? Her name was Amber. She was really active, and she had a good show called Wind Down Wednesdays, and she like had 7 episodes, and they just kind of disappeared.
Oh my gosh! So
like
she
her-
removed them.
Yeah, well, they didn't remove the podcast, but she was like, I couldn't find her on Facebook anymore. Like she just disappeared. And so I don't know what happened there. I tried to email and find her, but it just didn't happen. So I mean, that's shows do fade, even good ones.
Yeah.
I think people, when you get into podcasting, you don't really understand how much work is in it.
Yeah, you got to be a go-getter.
It's a lot more than just showing up and deciding I want to talk on a microphone and publish
Right.
it. Especially if you don't have an audience, because who's going to want to listen to you? How do you find an audience? What do you do? I mean, there's a lot of researching that goes into stuff. There's a lot of watching different things.
And the natural ability to be able to speak and connect with people. That's so important. You're not going to have listeners if you can't do that either.
You can't speak
true.
Can't speak.
Yeah, you got all the info in the world. You've got the expensive mic, but you talk like this and you can't relate.
Yeah. Your personality doesn't come through, and you can't figure out how to break that barrier of bringing you into the microphone without having the visual of seeing you. And I don't know if a lot of people realize this, because I didn't start out as a live stream show. I started out as a audio only, and it just kind of progressed to that. And I don't really talk about it or in my episodes, I don't talk a whole lot about that I do this side of it. It doesn't get in there. I don't think about it when I'm doing the promos and stuff. So number 90. All right, we're getting there. Only 10 more to go, people. Thank you for being so patient. Thank you for being so patient and following along with us. I really appreciate it. Angela Marsden, this was a really good one. She did that viral video about in your neck of the woods where that restaurant got closed, and then they opened up that casting, like there was a movie theater company that opened up an outdoor seating thing for a production they were doing right across from hers. And so her, she was kind of calling out, like, why is it okay for them to be open and doing whatever, and you're shutting me down? And so, that was a really good episode. She was super emotional in like the first 5 minutes, and it was like a real look. This is having a real effect on people, man.
Yeah.
If you're in California or New York, where the lockdowns were the strictest, you're forcing people out of business. People that have, made a life and a living and are helping other people make a life and a living. That was all being affected. 91 was another alcoholic, somebody that was victimized by an alcoholic or lived with an alcoholic. That was a really good one. I liked her a lot.
Oh, I heard that one. Yeah.
And we got Cassandra Wallace, who is the current Miss World America. That was an interesting one. She's doing a lot of cool stuff, advocating, and then also volunteering down in Haiti. Mm-hmm. More recovery stuff.
Survive
homelessness.
schizophrenia.
Research and cartel discussion with Scholar. That was an interesting one.
Was that hard to keep up with?
No, not really. But there was some things that we talked about, like how it shouldn't be legal for researchers to be able to patent their discoveries, because they made them. You made it on the public's dime.
Mm-hmm.
Like all those research grants get paid for by the government, which technically are taxpayer funded.
Like Stanford experiment, for example.
But they can patent it and make billions on it, but the people that actually made it possible for you to do that get nothing out of it.
I'm about to go do some experiments on people myself.
More wrongful conviction. This was an interesting one. This was Dr. Carmen Johnson. She was actually helping people in 2009 stay in their homes during the financial crisis and getting moratoriums so they didn't get kicked out of their homes. And she ended up having to go to prison for 3 years because she wouldn't play along with they wanted her to stop talking about it and saying that there were illegal foreclosures, and she was a part of, I think she was on the board of the NAACP in Baltimore, Maryland, and she wouldn't do it, and so they found a way to put her in prison to shut her up.
Wow. The people right, you know what I mean, for others, and they don't want that, so they'll find a way to screw you over.
Yeah. Because they don't want revolts, but it's going to happen anyways.
Well, I mean, people are going to get tired. I mean, you can only put just like in an abusive relationship, and I feel like that's what we're in with our government, is an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And at some point, when you abuse somebody so much, they're going to fight back.
Right. Yeah.
Maria, you could probably
people
talk
can only
to that.
take so much.
You were in that situation. I don't mean to call you out. But
No,
I mean,
I'm an open book.
Yeah, I mean, at some point when you get pushed too far, I'm sure that you like a feral animal, you do what you got to do to survive, and that instinct comes out, and you fight back.
Yeah, that's so true.
All right, so that's about it. We got some other trauma ones, and
more trauma,
and some more trauma.
Yay!
I'm about to bolt in a second. I am going to pee myself. So,
oh my!
I have had 7 kids. The bladder is only so strong.
Okay, but before I go, I just want to tell you, Sean, that I am this dumb that I had to write down. I had to write down like yesterday 6 key points that I really wanted to tell you, forgetting that we talk like all the time.
Mhm.
And I said, "You've really come a long way." Was
Why
number
did you
one.
write it so big? Like you're in 3rd grade. That's my
I don't
main
know.
question.
Number 2, episode 1 is a really long trailer. Number 3, don't laugh. I didn't. LOL. Number 4, oh my, single Sean making his Tinder in something.
She
In
can't
the
even
form
read
of
her
a
own writing.
podcast. In the form of a podcast.
Now.
Loved the honesty, and holy crap, you can talk.
I made no notes. 0.
I'm not gonna lie, I consider
and me staying to my tradition, I come to these like I don't do a lot of preparation when it comes to when I interview somebody. I like it to be, I want to know, I want to learn and let you see. I don't know. I just whatever the reason is, I feel like it's more authentic when there's not a lot of before it. Like I'll find out the gist of you and have enough to be able to carry on a conversation, but I want to find out about you on the spot.
Yeah, it comes out naturally, but it is nice to sometimes have a reference point where if you get stuck for whatever reason, you've got a fail safe that you can click on over to and just be like, oh yeah, so speaking of which, we're moving on.
Well, that's where the guest form comes in, because I have all the questions that I need answered on that, and so I'll reference that. And if I because there's sometimes when you get a guest that you have to pull teeth out of, or you only get 20 minutes, and then they're just kind of like, and it's like, all right, well, what do I do now? So I'll have books that have been impacted in their life, and so I can go to that. So tell me about this book and why has it impacted your life? Or podcasts, I'll have them give me 2 podcasts that have been, that have helped them in their journey, and I'll reference that too. So I could squeeze at least another 15 minutes out of those 2 parts. So I do kind of I do, but I try not to go to it. I would much rather not have to look at that piece of paper and than not. So yeah, I appreciate everybody going. I was gonna give a glimpse of what's coming. What I'll do is I'll just show this of what it is. There's a lot of episodes that I'm coming out with. Don't talk shit about all the things I have on my.
Here it comes.
All the things that I have on
Oh my God!
Brace yourself. Watch this.
There's so much stuff on there. Doesn't that give you? It gave me anxiety. It gave me anxiety. I can't.
That's a heavy powered CPU you've got there.
Yeah. So look.
You ever heard of the cloud? Like
Intel Pentium 12 processor.
You should see the folders that get created before I started doing it as a live stream. Like I've got 20 entries that go into one folder for one episode, from pictures to all kinds of stuff, man. It's crazy.
I wouldn't be able to do that. My ADD would be like, nope, not in it.
I applaud the organization. I just I'll name it whatever my hands do to the keyboard. I'll just snap
whatever my hands do.
Yeah, I'm just boop and then enter. And
okay, I don't do that either. I try to
I go to most recent.
So what we're looking at right here are all episodes that I've recorded and are just waiting for me to publish them. So I mean, there are.
We're going all the way back from May of last year.
Maria.
Yep.
We just did ours a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we just did ours a couple weeks ago, and I'm still working on May, so it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, some of these may not even make it onto there. Like I have, a lot. Richard Bergen. I've got Liz Priestley. I love them. Some really good ones. This one's going to be a funny one. Her name is Madeline Ruiz, and she's married to the Dick Doctor. She's married to a urologist, and she wrote a book called "So I Married a Dick Doctor."
That's great.
Help! I married a Dick Doctor.
And we
Great.
talk about all of the things that, go on down there,
Why are you teasing us with that? Like, I wish that was out. Like,
Yeah, right. So yeah, there's plenty
That's
of
messed up.
there's plenty of content to come out, and I'm the reason why it takes me so long to get to them is that instead of not recording more, for some reason I feel like I'm missing out when I say no.
yeah.
And there's really interesting people that that reach out to me and want to be on the show. So I mean, I want to have everybody, and so that's why that happened.
It's going to get to the point it's not relevant. You just need to do a big dump.
I think so.
Just all natural. Listen to all of them. Just like throw
Yeah,
it
just
in
like
there.
dump them
Love it
all on
later.
and be like, okay, because if not, you're going to be like 4 years out once a week,
Yeah.
and
I
then
think
nobody's
we're-
going to know what you're talking about.
Well, how I got
The
how I
movie
got
came
really
out.
lucky is that like we were in the lockdown when I recorded those, and guess what? We're kind of still in the lockdown. So
Yeah.
I got lucky
true.
that a lot of this stuff is still relevant. So at least the May, I'm probably going to do a big dump here pretty soon. And
Well,
just-
when I went on to
Ew.
season, you're gross. Anyway, when I went on to season 3, I had a handful of them left, and I just did one a day to end the season to kick off the next season.
okay,
I just
yeah.
dropped.
Good
I
idea.
scheduled and did one a day just to get them out because I honestly
Really
didn't want them in
cute.
there anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe
Yeah.
like Sean, you could just you're on your 100th episode, take a couple weeks off for a little season break, get it all done, stick it in the queue, and then come back with some more fire.
There you go.
We'll have to do it after this week because I have a live stream every night this week that I've got coming out. So
Wow.
yeah, so I've got some really good ones this week, and they're all going
Well,
to be
just-
about 6:00 p.m. I have to schedule most of them. I haven't scheduled them yet, so I'm going to do that today. But yeah, this week I have one tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
They
I've been
will
kinda
be
straying
good.
away.
They will be good. That's for sure. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to at some point just cut it off and start just releasing stuff. 2,
Yeah.
3, 4 a day.
Yeah, I never celebrated like my 100th episode or anything, or like my anniversary. Like when the next one came, I don't know. I just never. I just
You have a lot of episodes, Brandy. Oh,
Yeah.
Sean, what is that one thing that you said that I have to remember? This is so important. When you did the accent of the guy that told you that you weren't prisoners, you were what did he call it? Previously incarcerated
Oh,
people.
Formerly incarcerated.
Formerly, yes. The accent was like, I was like, oh my gosh, Sean, you really did that. It was good though.
What was the accent supposed to like?
I don't know.
So if you say who the like if you go, oh, that's that was a brother you were trying to accent.
It sounded like Louisiana.
Yeah, I'm not very good at accents.
Louisiana.
No, it was good.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was good. It was just hilarious because I didn't expect it, and all of a sudden it was just like bam, like Sean's talking all monotone, and he's Sean Dustin, your host, and then he just goes in with a Louisiana accent.
Funny. So yeah, I mean, it's an adventure. Podcasting is a journey. I think anybody here on this panel right now can attest to that. It's a good journey. It's also therapeutic. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how to talk to people, and actually, you learn more about how to listen to people. In my experience, so if you want to start a podcast or you're thinking about it, just do it. There's no perfect way to start a podcast. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Just start.
And
You're gonna
join
mess
Indie
up.
Pods
all kinds of
United.
stuff. Normal. Still mess up.
Yeah.
sometimes.
So we've been at this for 2 hours, and I think that's probably
hours?
about long.
Maria
about
has
long
to
enough.
pee.
Yeah,
You gotta
Maria's
You,
got
rest.
I have to
You got a
pee.
good bladder. You got a good bladder.
Yeah, Maria's got to pee, and there's going to be a lot of good stuff to come with the podcast. It's going to, like I said, it's going to be tied to the nonprofit, and there'll be more coming out about that. In my intros later on as the business gets formed and the organization gets formed. There'll be definitely more about that, and yeah.
Yay.
Until then, here's another thing, man. All my episodes, like for like the first 20 of them, I'd always say, Until next time, keep it 100. Stay true to yourself. Everything else is just noise.
Basic.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. I think I just felt
cute.
like I needed to say something, you know what I mean?
Aw.
Like profound or whatever.
That very profound.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't do that anymore, but I still feel the same way. You know, keep it 100 because no one can be you. You're the only one that can be you. And, you know, as long as you're being the most authentic version of yourself and the most real version of yourself, that's the only thing people are going to respect.
That's good. Now let's end there so I can go pee.
Yeah,
All right,
That was good. Let's end on a high note.
We're going to expect this to come out in 2027.
Exactly.
Yeah, really.
It'll be uploaded to the platforms in 2027.
Look out.
All right. I want to thank everybody for joining me. If you watch, thank you. I appreciate it. If you support the show, thank you even more. I appreciate it. Go and check out my panelists on their podcasts and their shows. All of that will be in the links and it below in the description. And until next time, I will see you later.
You've been listening to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. Sean is a single dad, a union blue-collar guy, and he spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. When he was released from prison in 2006, all he had was the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and some paperwork. Since then, he's turned his life around and shares the struggles and successes on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you were moved. To connect to the show, book a guest spot. For merch, Patreon, PayPal, and social media links, go to linktr.ee/nowhere to go but up. On Instagram at Nowhere to Go But Up Now. On Twitter at But Up Now. On the YouTube channel at Nowhere to Go But Up Podcast. See you next time.